I know it's pretty dead right now on YouTube when it comes to Star Wars, actually kind of overall, because Andor, in my opinion, amazing series, but it seems to have very little viewership and very little interest to talk about for some reason. And when it comes to games, we don't really have any active Star Wars games to talk about right now, but it's all a waiting game. But if you dig deep enough, there is still always stuff to discuss, and I love talking about Star Wars games. I know it won't get a lot of views, and that's fine, but hopefully a few of you will enjoy the video, and if you do, feel free to leave some feedback below. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, mostly the new FPS game by Respawn, because there has been a few developments that has me a little bit worried about this game. Before I get into that, I just wanted to give a shout out to my longtime sponsor Elgato, who yet again released another amazing product, this time the Wave DX, their first DXLR microphone. They pretty much have everything for content creators now. I personally had their USB microphone, the Wave 3, among I think 10 other products. If you want to read all about the stuff I use, you can always follow the link in the description below to my partner page. But in short, anything content creation, or if you just want to look and sound good in your work calls, well, they've got everything you need. So now, let's talk a little bit about Respawn's FPS game, because when it comes to Star Wars games overall, it's probably gonna be a while until we have something interesting to talk about. We do have the Galactic Edition for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga coming out on November 1st, which includes 6 new character packs. But I mean, it's gonna be exciting for about 2 days, because there's no new gameplay, and then we'll be back to the waiting game until Jedi Survivor sometime next year, and it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get a release date until next year, meaning that basically there's nothing exciting for Star Wars games for a while now. So let's talk about the project that I think I am the most intrigued by, which is Respawn's FPS Star Wars game, which was announced in January this year. First of all, just a quick recap on the very little we know about it. We do know that Peter Hirschman is actually the game director for this game. And why is he special? Well, he was the executive producer on the original Star Wars Battlefront games. I'm talking about the pandemic Battlefront games from 2004 and 2005. So he is an OG when it comes to Battlefront games. Does that mean this is a Battlefront game? Probably not, but he still obviously knows what he's doing. And the one quote he did say was, "Working with Lucasfilm Games on the new FPS in the Star Wars galaxy is a dream come true for me, as this is a story I have always wanted to tell." And this was actually said in reference to the old Battlefront game. So that is the first hint that is indeed gonna be a story-based game, considering that, well, a story I've always wanted to tell doesn't really sound like something you'd say about, let's say, Apex Legends, or like a multiplayer-only game. And the reason to why I want to discuss this so much is that, like I've mentioned before, I feel like there's gonna be too much of an abundance of single-player Star Wars games. It's basically like they went from all multiplayer to all single-player. Why can't we have a balance? There hasn't been any replacement for Battlefront 2 since they stopped the support of that, and Star Wars Squadrons only had a very short period of support. So now with like 8 games announced and seemingly all of them being story-based, maybe you could squeeze one multiplayer game in there. Star Wars stories are amazing when told through games, so I'm all for that. But just one multiplayer game, a game they can keep updating, not just release, play, and then you're done. So the fact that they do announce a new FPS game in the Star Wars universe from probably the best fitted studio ever to do it, Respawn. I mean, look at Titanfall or Apex Legends, or when it comes to Star Wars storytelling, Fallen Order. They know what they're doing on both those types of games, Star Wars storytelling and multiplayer shooters, so they're the perfect fit for this. But what if it's not multiplayer at all? That does have me very worried, both because of that quote, but also some recent announcements that some of the developers I followed have put out, or not announcements, but it's on their website as well. The new developers they're hiring. Most of these can fit on any game, but as you can see, Senior Enemy/AI Animator. Previous tweet, Senior AI Software Engineer. AI Software Engineer. I mean, multiplayer games tends to have AI, even Battlefront 2 had, although I'm not sure if they have dedicated AI developers or not. But the weird thing is that they have a lot of mentions of AI throughout their hirings, their previous tweets, and I have yet to see anything at all about multiplayer. no multiplayer designer, progression designer, nothing I have found throughout their job listings or anywhere else even hints towards there being a single multiplayer element to this game. So that's what has me really worried. Just a quick note, under the AI animator, they actually say you will create a variety of challenging enemies for our players to encounter, ranging from bipedal to creatures within Maya. So basically that's like in Fallen Order. You will have bipedals, which means like humans, Wookiees, whatever, and then creatures could be like those spiders or really anything that isn't human-like, I would say. So again, that per se does definitely not have to mean that there's no multiplayer, but it just still has me really worried. And it makes me think that at least this could be like single player, mainly focused, and then have a small multiplayer element. And even that, I don't think would satisfy the community. We want a multiplayer game that we can look forward to playing every week, every month. New updates, new content, and of course, monetization. I don't mind whether it's skins or expansions or map packs, anything to keep the development going. I'm getting tired of seeing so many of these games just gonna be released, play once, you're done. I don't want it to be like that. I want at least one Star Wars game that will live on, like pretty much all other franchises have. Why can't Star Wars have that? I do not understand the reasoning behind that. And everything with this project just points towards more disappointment when it comes to that front. Don't get me wrong, it could be an incredible FPS storytelling game like Republic Commando, but in 2022. It could be a 10 out of 10 single player game. That's not the problem. The problem is that they have everything, the right studio with the right experience to do something amazing when it comes to multiplayer shooters and Star Wars. And if they don't do that, I will be disappointed, no matter how good the single player section of the game is. And with so many games already being announced, I don't think they're gonna announce even more games anytime soon. And if they do, it's gonna be like, we got a game planned in 10 years from now, or something like that. You'll be getting a Battlefront 3 in 2035. I'd love to hear, what do you guys think about this whole Respawn FPS shooter? It's the game that I'm by far most intrigued by, despite us not knowing anything, just because it's the shooters I like the most. And it's in Star Wars. That's why I love Battlefront, and that's why I want something similar to that. And I can obviously see that the community is the same, because every time EA Star Wars, or really Lucasfilm, tweets about anything that has to do with their Star Wars games, everyone responds, give us Battlefront 3, give us Battlefront 3, instead of actually talking about whatever it is they're tweeting about. So the interest is there. Is someone gonna step up and fill that void? That is the question. Anyways, if you're still watching this video, I really appreciate you. I enjoy just talking with you guys about Star Wars games. I will cover all the news, as always, but when there is no news, there's always something to discuss. And hope you guys don't mind that. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.